Honestly, I started this YouTube journey earlier this year. I was both excited to get started and I was also afraid to get started. And a lot of it had to do with me not being 100% sure about what it is I actually wanted to create video content about. So wrong. It literally felt like it it felt like me trying to be somebody else. And a part of that is because I spend a lot of time in my head and I overthink pretty much everything. It's a thing. I'm working on it. Don't judge me. Another part of it is because I sometimes struggle with articulation. I don't think I speak as clearly as I would like to. And so in that video, I was really trying to say what I needed to say in one consistent cut so that I didn't. And I still ended up having to do like multiple cuts in that. But because I was trying to be this version of me that I am not, because I was trying to talk about something that I know a lot about, but I don't necessarily want to create content about. And because I was, frankly, at the time, being very disobedient to the call of God, right? Even though I was trying to be obedient in that He said to create content, what I was trying to do was create content around a business that God already told me to shut down. So it was like, clearly, it wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work. And so I watched the video back and I'm like, who is that? Who is she? Is she okay? Because she doesn't look okay. And I think a part of like seeing the awkwardness on that in that video took me back into a place of overthinking, even as I was wrestling with God about the direction of this YouTube channel, about the direction of me creating content, even as I was doing all these things. And it was like, on one hand, I just spent a lot of time overthinking. But let me tell you what else happened. At the end of January, I actually left my job. Suffice it to say, they have a lot of things going on. In addition to them not having a lot of systems and SOPs and whatnot in place, and the actual work becoming more and more hectic and stressful as time went on, they also hadn't paid me since October. When I left in January, they had just made, I think, maybe the second, they had just made a payment for October. And that was after months of telling me, oh, it's coming, we're working on it. It's coming soon. I'm trying to get it done. And like, honestly, looking back now, I let it go on far too long. Up until the end of December, I still hadn't been paid since October, right? So that's October, November, and December. I had a weird dream. I had the weirdest dream. And basically, you know what Holy Spirit said to me based on the dream? Because I was like, what is this? I needed an explanation because what is this? And he said, you're okay with people taking advantage of you if it seems that their need is greater than yours. Ow. He said, yeah, that's why you're okay with staying here, even though you've been owed. At that point, it was coming towards the end of January, so it would have been 4 months. Even though you're owed almost 4 months worth of pay. This is what happened in the last job. This is what happened in the job before that. This is what happened in your family business that you left. This is a consistent cycle for you. You always stay. I was like, oh no. When Holy Spirit tell you something like that about yourself, like you have to move. And this is after he had already spoken to me several times about leaving. Times. And I was like, let me just stick it out. Let me just collect that paycheck. Why? Because I don't like being unstable. I'm in a place right now where I don't have a job. And I still have some payments. They still have a payment for December and all of January to get back to me. Well, to get to me, right? So those payments are dwindling down. I don't have an income. I am losing it. Not losing it. I'm trusting in the Lord. Hallelujah. But one of the things I learned about myself is I will suffer for the illusion of security. And I don't like it. So that was January. The bulk of February was really me trying to find a place to work from. As you can see, I found a place. I Where I am right now is at a library, but I spent some time checking out the different Starbucks locations. I worked a couple times at a art gallery in a hotel. That was nice. That's actually going to be like my Tuesday writing spot for the musical because it was open. It's nice. It's air conditioned. That's important because here in the Bahamas, the summer is here. Okay, I was sweating last night. We're only in April. I spent a couple of days working out of an entertainment center that has like a coffee shop area set up that also has like a outdoor patio with some tables. That's often very crowded though, so I didn't go there a lot, but it is an option. The best option that I've found really is the libraries. First of all, I didn't realize that our libraries was this bougie. That's the first thing, and that's on me. This is my first experience at the libraries. Aside from the big library downtown, that one was kind of traumatizing. Like, I love the smell of books, particularly old books. That one was extra. That one made my lungs hurt. I have visited 3 of the libraries. There's one that's closest to me. The Wi-Fi is never working. Like, it never works. Like, never works. Also, Bahamian library culture is not silent. As somebody who's been to libraries in the US and in Canada, we have a different definition of quiet. I'm gonna just say it like that. But this one is my favorite, not only because I get to use this beautiful room for free without hassle. Like, I could literally just walk in as long as it's available. I could literally just walk in and sit down. But also because it's close to a beach, which is always a good time. I spent like the first 2 weeks in February like visiting, trying to figure out what is what, and that was nice. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I was also trying to start chasing the wrong business. Basically, I was trying to start the wrong business. I have a background in copywriting and ghostwriting, brand development, content creation, video editing, and whatnot, and so I wanted to take all of that experience that I have about creating content that basically sells, creating content that sells, creating messaging that sells, how to build a brand, etc., etc., etc. Basically, how to write your way to wealth in whatever way that you desire it. I really wanted to help nonprofits to diversify their resource mobilization. That changed to wanting to work with online entrepreneurs and service providers, well, and small businesses, it wasn't service providers yet, to package the expertise so that they could have more money in their business. And then that changed to working with helping solopreneurs master their messaging so that they could sell more and have more money in their business. And that led me to realizing that, what I really do in my business is like help people find the right story to tell in their business and then monetize and leverage that business. I was like, I need to focus on storytelling. And I was like, I didn't realize it in the moment, but I was literally doing the same kind of spiraling I had been doing when at the middle of 2022, when God was like, you can shut this business down. You can stop it. And the reason for that this time is the same as it was that time. He was telling me to do something, and I was like, no, I don't mean it lightly. I just mean that his instruction, the instruction that God gave me from, I think it may have been even in 2021, was to write and create content. He reminded me of this musical because when I tell you when I tell you this thing was so far away from my mind that when he spoke to me about the musical, like at church, literally in worship one day at church, I was like, oh, I forgot this. And then I found the folder where I had stuff in it. When I tell you I was shocked at how much I already had. When I found the script that I had printed out, the first version of the script that I was like, oh, I had a whole thing going on. Completely skipped my mind. And that's because I didn't want to, it's not that I didn't want to work on it. I didn't think I could work on it until I was in a more stable position, right? Again, this is where we are now. But I couldn't see myself working on it and not having some type of income coming in. I couldn't see myself spending time working on the script, trying to find like people to help me produce it without a stream, without some type of income coming in. The whole notion of write and create content documenting your writing journey was like, what do you mean, sir? Because again, I don't live in the US or Canada, right? So I don't have access to the TikTok Creator Fund or at the time the YouTube Creator something, right? There was no way for me to make money from just content by itself. So I was trying to set up some digital products to have some income coming in on the side while I did this. And God was like, who tell you do that? And I get it. I'm trusting him. But at the time I was like, oh Lord, I didn't think it could happen. And so I spent a whole lot of time in between, well, before I left the job. That was what I was working on from like September, October and whatnot, into January, into February, into March, when I was able to like sit up and do some things. Like I was working, and then God was like, you're doing the same thing again. You're throwing a tantrum because you are offended at the fact that I told you to work on this musical and create content, and you don't have no way to make money coming in. And I'm like, yes, I'm offended. I didn't realize I was offended until he pointed it out. And so I had to have a tantrum. I had to have my tantrum at the foot of Jesus, at the foot of the throne. And so now I'm writing full time and creating content. Yes, that's what happened. Listen, I don't know where I found the time to do this studying. But the less said about the situation, the better. I got sucked into the vortex of the become a full-time content creator content on social media, particularly on TikTok. It wasn't cute, and all I will say is that I would love if we could collectively forget the whole thing. I won't tell you how much money I spent on digital products along that line. If you don't ask me. The thing is, and this is probably a rant that I need to go into on a different video, right? But content creation, or like full-time content creation, is not gonna look the same way for everyone. I am apparently becoming a full-time content creator. However, I'm not becoming a full-time content creator in the same ways that the people on TikTok are teaching about. I'm not building a business at this current moment. I'm not building an influencer brand. I'm not building a UGC brand. I'm not trying to, I would love to build my followers, but I'm not building a brand on something that I know. I'm building a brand based on my journey, and it's slightly different. And that is dramatic and stressful because there's not a lot of content out there for this particular type of journey. Particularly because I'm not trying to be selling nothing. Because I done told my cut up, I done throw my tantrum, I'm settled. Okay? It's a little bit frustrating that so much of the content out there is geared towards that specific type of full-time content creation. And that's not the only way that it has to look like. It sure as heck ain't gonna look like that for me. But I got swept up, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And then somehow, some way, I sprained my back. Like literally, the muscles in my back, I could not move. I started to feel pain on this side, in my low back on this side, mid to low back on this side. And I thought it was because in my car, my armrest is low. So if I want to lean on it, if I'm leaning on my armrest, I'm driving like this. And so I thought that was where some of that pain was coming from. So I started trying to lean this way in the car, like try to lean on the window or on the armrest on the door. And then I also was trying to increase my steps, right? I was trying to get more steps in. I was trying to correct some postural issues where my pelvis is tilted forward, and so the whole of my torso was tilted forward. My center of gravity was tilted forward instead of being directly over my feet. And so I was trying to correct that, trying to be conscious of my posture and correct that. And I think at one point my back was like, you know what, the hell with this. You just do it a little bit too much. I woke up one day and I could not sit up. I could not sit up. I could not roll over. It was bad. It took me like 15 minutes to get out of my bed and get to the bathroom. And I was like, what the hell? But you know, as somebody who did not grow up with healthcare, I went and I did some massages. I have a percussive massager, loosen it up and this and the other thing. And after a while I was good. So I left the house, and when I got back, I was like, oh no. Like I tried to do like stretches and this and the other thing, and it would be fine for like the first part of the day, but like halfway through the day it would be ridiculously painful. Some of it was sciatica because I had like that shooting pain down the back of my thigh. Some of it was like up here because I couldn't bend, I couldn't flex, I couldn't turn, I couldn't like all of like as simple as this I could not do. I kept stretching and stretching, and then I spoke to somebody who actually had back surgery. I love Yasmin, she's my sister, she's great. She was like, yeah, I couldn't do anything when I had back surgery, only be on bed rest. And I was like, yeah, but I've been stretching. She's like, like, why are you stretching? She's like, no, you need to be on bed rest. And I was like, oh. So I took her advice and I just laid flat for like the entire week. Very minimum movements. And when I tell you the difference at the end of that week, night and day difference. I thought I was better. And then I went up, I got up and I went to work at a Starbucks, and I could barely get up out of the seat when I was done. Like I sat there for maybe like an hour and a half. It wasn't long. I don't think I was out there long. And I almost couldn't get out of the seat. Then I had to stand up and like let my body process the change in position, and then I had to get home. And sitting down in my car seat, like trying to get into the car, traumatic. Made it back home. I was like, oh, clearly I'm not as better as I thought I was. And so I had to spend another 2 weeks like just laying, doing minimal movement. I'm about like 96% back now. And that's because I've been trying to be very generous with my horizontal time. I've been trying to do a lot more stretching. I've been trying to do a lot more hip flexor work, and taking breaks. So taking breaks to stand up when I need to, because that's important, right? But that took me out for a solid 3.5 weeks. I literally could not do anything. I spent the time scrolling through TikTok. I'm not even gonna lie, because it was like, what else am I supposed to do? I could not lay on my stomach and like type on my laptop because that put pressure on my back. Like it was so, I felt like an invalid. I felt worse than the time I traveled back home after spending like 6 months in Nashville, and the arches in my feet fell. As unbearable as that was, because pain, pain, as unbearable as that was, I would prefer that to the 3 weeks of back pain, because when I tell you I couldn't do anything, I could not do anything. I thought I was going crazy. So where am I right now? For right now, I am feeling a whole lot better. Treating myself better, eating better, moving more, trying to be gentle with myself, taking breaks, etc., etc. I am settled in the writing, right? So I'm working on my musical. I'm also working on, I need to get back to working on a Christian fiction novel. Very excited about that. I actually have two I have 2 ideas, right? And so my thought is to also take you through the process of how I am plotting and planning and writing them as well. And I also think that I'm going to put the book 1 of the series, because it's always a series. I'm also going to put that on YouTube as like an audiobook. I also like the idea of publishing serial fiction. Like, I've always loved that idea. I love the idea of post a chapter, get comments. Post a chapter, get comments, because I love comments. Absolutely love them. And I'm wondering if there is room to do something of that sort here on YouTube. But yeah, it's something that I look forward to testing, and I'm building routines. So as it stands right now, Tuesday is the day that I work on the musical. Wednesday is the day that I do any scripting that I need to do. Thursday, today, is a film day. So Friday is the day that I'm either writing, scripting, or reading, because there's a book that I'm reading for the musical that I'll talk about in a different video. And so Friday is a flex day. Monday may also be a flex day, just because Mondays are slower for me, because at least the last few weeks I have not had much of a weekend. Like, there was something happening on, multiple things happening on Saturday, multiple things happening on Sunday, and so I used Monday to kind of like catch myself. So I think going forward, Monday will also be like a flex day. But like, this gives me a type of routine that I can stick to that so far seems to be working pretty well for me. I've decided on a couple of different series that you can look forward to. I'm creating more of a documentary type series, taking you through the journey of planning and writing and producing the musical right up to like opening night. That's something that it's probably going to be more structured and polished. And then there is what I'm calling musical diaries, which is more of the behind the scenes, chaotic, in the moment type series, where I'm sharing some of my thought process, my writing process, the back and forth that I have with the different characters, etc. And then there's Holy Fiction, right, which is me talking about the different books that I mentioned before. I'm excited about that, documenting my writing, because mind you, listen, I have not read much Christian fiction. I have not. I used to read a lot more when I was a teenager, when I had those books around me available in abundance. That has not been the case since then. But some of what I've seen online about Christian fiction, it's that a lot of it seems to be romance, which, why? A lot of it seems to be like very cringe, right? Where the woman has faith and then she has to like have faith and fall in love with the man and kind of like draw him to God. Why they can't both be for Jesus? And like, anyway, this is a rant that I probably need to polish up a little bit more. But basically, I'm excited about writing Christian fiction, getting into that story, those stories, that process, that journey. I'm excited. And if you want to see how the musical unfolds, how these books unfolds, definitely hit the subscribe button. And hit the notification bell so that you can know when it is that I post a video. All in all, I'm committed to sharing more, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes us, where it takes me, and where it takes you as you follow along with me as I go wherever it is that I'm going.